Good.
Hi, welcome to Hypothetically Intentional, where we ask the question, what if we set intentions with everything we do? I'm your host, Michelle Aalbers, and today I have Melissa Rodway with me. Welcome, Melissa. You are an author
I am. Thank you, Michelle.
and a fellow podcaster.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate this. This looks like a great discussion we have ahead of us.
I think so. And your book is called The People We Meet, right?
People you meet,
Or The
yes.
People
And
You
then it has
Meet.
a fabulous subtitle, Luxury, Leeches, Love, and Lao Lao, with a host of interesting characters in Southeast Asia. So it's not for the faint of heart.
I love it. I love it. Well, before we dive into the conversation, because anything that involves travel typically will take me off on we'll go on forever. Should we set an intention? Would you like to be part of that or do you want me to do it?
You can go for it. I'll follow your lead on this one.
Sounds good. So my intention for today, I believe, is to, I mean, it's weird to say, but I want to connect with a new person. I've never met you. And I also want to explore the world like while on a mic. I just want to explore the world in conversation on a mic for anyone who that is drawn to that might, lean in and learn something too. Because I find exploring the world with an open mind and then with people who have also explored the world, I find it fascinating and beautiful, and I always walk away inspired. And usually there's some like learning that goes with it too.
Absolutely. I love that. I agree. I think we're on the right track. We have the same intention. So let's go for it.
Beautiful. I would love to hear, gosh, where do I start? I would love to hear more about your book title and subtitle.
hmm
I'm
Okay, that's
assuming
a
that
good
came
one.
from an adventure.
It sure did. So, yes, this is a book that I wrote. Well, I just put it out this year, but this is from a trip I took in 2010.
Okay.
So basically, I was with a partner, and we were mostly backpacking through Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and China. Now, he was on a mission because he also had happened to work for luxury travel at the time. So he was researching hotels and routes, etc. I will say 90% of this trip was backpacking. It was a 4 month trip, and 10% was luxury hotels, which was very nice sometimes because we were roughing it. So basically, what happened is I was along for the ride. So he kind of had this all planned out, more or less. He was a huge traveler before that, and we both had done a lot of trips, but um, he kind of had an agenda, and I was there along for the ride. And for me, after a few weeks, I started to get a little bit cagey. So I think this is where I started to learn about having a purpose when you're traveling. And he obviously had one because he was on a mission here for like future work and business. But for me, after a few weeks, I got a little bit restless. I mean, traveling is amazing. We all love it. But as you get older, I think if you don't have a reason sometimes to be going places, you can start to get a little bit restless in your brain, which is what happened to me. So I started creating these emails. It was 2010, so there we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have any of that. So we were going to like internet cafes once a week or finding a computer in a hotel lobby. And I started writing these emails that I created in my head on long bus and train journeys, often 36 hours. And so then I sent these emails home. They were wildly popular. People were sending them to other people. And long story short, 15 years later, because that's how long it took me to commit to it, I edited those emails and I turned them into a book.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, it's a really fun read. It's easy. It will make you feel like you're on the journey with me. It's not a like go do this, go do that, although it does describe the journey, but it's it's more like you'll learn a little bit of the geography, the history, the culture, but it's also like very honest. I don't really pull any punches. And yeah, it's a really fun ride. So that's pretty much that in a nutshell.
That's
That's a,
awesome.
yeah, long-winded answer for your question.
No, that's great. I think it's lovely to have a preview from the author of like, what is this book really?
Yeah,
You know? So,
yeah.
and you said you used to have a podcast. It's a little bit on hiatus right now, but that was called I Fly Travel.
No, that was called Fly Travel Radio.
Oh, sorry. Gosh, I'm gonna
Don't
get my
worry.
names all.
I know. Well, yeah. And, so I started that in probably 20, I don't know, 17 maybe. Um, So it started out as a radio show and then it turned into a podcast. And podcasts weren't like as wildly popular as they are now.
Yeah.
But it's on hiatus because you cannot have a full-time job and write a book and promote a book and do a podcast all at once. Or you can, but I can't.
Good call. I feel like that sounds like some self knowledge and wisdom, and
Yeah.
then honoring self respect too. You know.
Yeah, I mean, there just are not enough hours in the day, as we all know. So, yeah,
Right.
that's me in a nutshell.
And so, do you still travel a lot?
Yeah, I try to. So, in 2010, I was 35 at the time. I quit my job. I did that whole thing, which I don't know that I'd do that again. So that I took 4 months off, and then in 2023, I took another year off. I was lucky. I did what is called a 3/4, so I had a paid leave from my work, which means that for 3 years, I made 2/3 of my salary, and they put that third away for me, and then in the fourth year, they were paying me the money that I didn't have. So I did some trips then, and yeah, I was in like South America, Europe, Mexico, a little bit of Canada. I got derailed a few times with injuries, which like right before a trip to Africa, and yeah, so things happen obviously when you're away. And then you can't always book like 4 months here or a year there. So intermittently, yes, I go away as much as I can, for 2 to 3, sometimes 4 weeks at various times throughout the year. So yeah, travel is still a huge part of my life. I love it. But I'm older now, so it changes a little bit as you get older. But I mean, I'm 50, and then I was in Italy this year, and I ended up traveling and hiking with people that were in their like late 60s and early 70s. So I'm still quite young. Now that, when you meet people like that are still like on the road and doing their thing, I've traveled with like 85-year-olds that are out there. So, it's you're never too old to keep traveling. That's for sure.
So, when you travel, do you like to travel on your own and then meet up like the people you meet, like with the people you meet, or do you like to kind of plan it with groups, or maybe some of both?
I like all of it. I do a lot of group travel, but I always go on my own. I don't really like going with someone that I know. I like meeting strangers, so group travel is big for me. I will do some solo traveling. I don't love it as much, to be honest, but I love it in certain moments. And I'm good for a couple of weeks, and then after that, I'm like, okay, I'm done. So, like on my year off in 2023. I would go intermittently on trips, so anywhere from 5 to 8 weeks. And in between that time, it would be like maybe a week or two on my own. Then I do a group trip for a week. Then I'd be on my own again. So yeah, just kind of like mixing it up like that. But I like all of it. I'll do anything. I like traveling with a partner as well. But I prefer, to be honest, yeah, I like meeting strangers quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Well, and you learn a lot.
Yeah, you learn a lot and you become maybe your authentic self, or you reignite a self that you cannot be at home with like the people that know you in a different way. So I think it's really important actually to like meet different people and just yeah, walk away from your regular everyday life.
Isn't that fascinating? I love what you said there. You said something about, meeting new people a lot brings forward your authentic self, which is harder to do at home.
Yeah.
And it's like because it's familiar, because people know us, because people are expecting our masks or our filters or our veils or whatever you want to call it. But then
Yeah.
you go travel and you talk to a complete stranger and suddenly there you are. And it's like, oh, look at that. I found a side of myself that's been hiding for a while. Is that one of your
Oh,
favorite pieces of travel?
it's 100% my
Yeah.
favorite part. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I mean, I think the adventure and the unknown are, that's why we do it. But it's always those random people that you never saw coming that are suddenly right in front of your face that you feel like you've known for a million years or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's astonishing, who you come across and why. And doesn't mean you love everybody on the road. I don't.
Fair.
I'm sure you don't either. But I think it's really cool, and you end up hanging out with people that you probably never hang out with in regular life because we all come with judgment and whatever it is that carries us through our regular life. But when you travel, all that seems to go out the window. So, and I think it's also super cool that you're already on a playing field that you don't have with people in your regular life. There's an acceptance, there's an understanding, there's a like-mindedness that, doesn't happen. I mean, when you work with people, you have to like get along with them, and you don't always, but we just sort of let people into our lives and our regular life for different reasons. But when you travel, it's like, I don't know, you're with kindred spirits a lot of the time. You don't have to explain yourself. They get it, like they get you. And I love that. There's a real freedom to that we don't necessarily have at home.
Yeah, and I think you alluded to, if not flat out said it, I think there's a piece of that like there's curiosity. Like we're curious, we're like we bring curiosity, or we're curious about each other.
Yeah,
And there's no, like, you don't know anything. So you really don't have any preconceived notions, or you know what I mean? You get to just be in space together, time and space together, and get curious and learn
totally. And
who
you
you are.
tell these people things you probably haven't told like some of your best friends,
Yeah.
like there's conversations that you're having that you probably never had at home. So I don't know. I think there's a real beauty to that. And yeah, there's this authenticity that emerges where, and I guess, it's also like when we're not running around and working and running here and there and getting groceries and doing all the mundane things, like who knows? Maybe we just deny that authenticity in regular life because we don't have time. But you know what I mean?
Oh,
It's
that's such an interesting, that's an interesting perspective that I've never really thought about. But I love what you said about, like, because when I'm traveling, I'm not attached to the same clock. I'm not in my
oh,
same to-do list. In fact, I'm hopefully not in a to-do list at all. There is
right?
freedom in that. And then there is a different, I don't want to say side of you because that feels wrong to me, but that authenticity does it. It's almost like it gets to sort of ooze into your
Yeah,
being, because it's not like distracted by the to-do list and the
yeah,
the known, and that, like, there is something about being in the unknown
yeah.
that carves space for anything, really.
Totally. And it's even like, even if you're not with people, I remember a moment I had in Italy 2 years ago, and I was in Cinque Terre, which is like, it's a touristy place, but there are certainly many hikes in that surrounding area that are not so touristy. But so I was there on my own doing that kind of stuff. Um, but even like when you're solo traveling and you haven't met up with anybody, no strangers, like, you can go several days sometimes with it's just you. Um, but I just remember this one day, like, just like really realizing how exciting it was to be on my own and to be free and to be like, oh, suddenly I'm going to go down to this beach and go for a swim and interrupt my hike. And I'm gonna, like, just the freedom to make decisions like that and just to really follow your natural state of like what you want to do in that moment and how you feel and how really you're the only person you want to be with in that moment because you're
Yeah.
just like, oh my God, I love myself. I'm so much fun. And I'm like, those moments too are something that we don't often have in regular life either. And that's also a really amazing exploration of who we are and what speaks to us and what like makes your heart soar and like just that, yeah, just feeling free and alone and doing whatever you want. There's like something very powerful in that too.
Yeah.
And that can
So
also change, right? 3 hours later, you can be like, "Oh my God, I'm like lonely and miserable, and I hate
yeah.
my life."
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I think it's a good thing to point out. Not everyone feels that way when they're alone, right? Like
Yeah,
everyone's different. And if
yeah,
you're a person who's never traveled or
yeah,
never traveled alone, like what we're talking about might feel completely different to you.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's an exploration. You get to see how it shows up for you, how you show up for you,
yeah,
how the new place you're in shows up for you, and how you
yeah,
show up within that unknown. I think it's so powerful to be somewhere where you are outside of, I don't know, I think of like your creature comforts, like the things
mm,
that you're used to and that bring you comfort. And then it's like you're not bringing all of your comforts with you when you travel. You got you and a suitcase, maybe a
yeah,
backpack,
totally. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
totally.
when you travel, I'm curious, and this is like one of those, it's like the question is begging, right? And it's such a generic question, I don't like it. And there's not a new way coming in, but like, do you have a favorite place? And part two would be, is there a place that you really, really want to go that you just haven't haven't explored yet? I'm guessing there's more than one.
Um, so favorite place, no, but favorite part of the world, certainly. And I do like this conversation because I think it's very interesting how how we feel about different parts of the world. So for me, anywhere Spanish speaking, I love Central America. So, you know, Guatemala, Nicaragua, that area I really enjoy, as well as South America. I love the vibe, the energy, the people. And as soon as I go to those countries, I just feel like relaxed and like it fits.
Oh, that's
Doesn't, I
amazing.
mean, obviously I stand out like a sore thumb. I'm blonde, I have blue eyes, but I just really love it. I feel like I can breathe. I love parts of Europe. There's something in that for me too. Certainly, Canada is very large. There's parts of Canada where I feel very like connected, and not all parts, but certain parts. But you know, the parts. It's interesting because I spent like this book takes place in Southeast Asia, and so many people flock back to Thailand repeatedly, even Vietnam. I liked it. I didn't love it.
Mm.
It's not my place. Like, and so that's interesting in itself. Like, what is it that makes some of us really click somewhere and you can go somewhere else and you like it, but there's something that's not happening for you.
Yeah.
So I find that fascinating and it's different for everybody. Um, so yeah, so and I love French speaking places as well. I have not been to Africa, so that's on my list.
Mm.
I tried to get there 2 years ago and I couldn't make it. So yeah, that's something that I feel I need to see as a curious person. But I think your list is always changing,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So
I hope
who
so. I
knows?
hope my list
Yeah,
is always changing. Although
yeah,
Thailand does have my heart.
yeah.
Thailand has
So
that's my home away
interesting.
from home. I also
Yeah,
love
right.
Spanish speaking
Yeah,
countries. Yeah. But yeah, well, I haven't been to a lot of South America, full disclosure, but like, yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
I just think it's funny. And I think when things are ever evolving to me, like when I find it's like, oh, that's shifted for me, I actually
yeah,
find that inspiring and beautiful because it means that I'm growing or I'm shifting or that like I haven't just been stuck in the same dream of I need to go here. You know, it's more like, do I still want to go here? I do. Cool, let's go. You know, do I
yeah.
want to go explore somewhere else? I do. Let's try that too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think like the way, if you've been doing this for a while, I think that you change, right? Like as
Yeah.
a traveler, your priorities change or how you want to travel changes. Like for me at this point, my priority is always active travel now. So hiking trips, cycling trips, paddling trips. And I'm not super hardcore, but that's just how I want to experience the world right now. And I wasn't always like that, but that's where I'm at right now. And I think, yeah, as you're saying, you have to embrace what moves you at this moment, and that 10 years from now, I might have a completely different
Yeah.
perspective on what I want. So yeah, it's really interesting that, and you learn right as you go, and what appeals and what doesn't, and yeah, it's an ever changing thing, and it's a creative thing. You know, traveling is sparks your creativity, the way you do it, what moves you, and yeah, interesting, right?
I love that. I don't know, when you were saying traveling sparks your creativity and the way you do it and all of that. I've traveled with people. This is ages ago. This is not, but like I've traveled with people who they don't I don't feel like travel sparked their creativity. I feel like they tried to schedule everything out to the
Oh,
minute. Do you know what I mean? And then it
yeah,
was like, oh, I feel safe if I know exactly what's going to happen and I know exactly where we're going to go and exactly what we're going to do. And I realize that that does not work for me. I
no,
don't want to travel like that. That feels too much like a to-do list or a
I
it
know.
loses the creativity for me. But that was, more in my upbringing than it was in like the groups of people when you have a bigger group of people and it's all people I feel like everyone felt like we had to have a schedule, you
Oh,
know.
oh, yeah, yeah,
But that's a very different kind of travel, a very different
yeah.
experience.
And people are funny, right? That happened to me once. I was with a friend and we were in Jordan and we were following sort of, have you been to Jordan?
Mm-mm.
It's amazing. You should go there.
Yeah.
We were following this like Lonely Planet. I think it was in Lonely Planet or whatever it was in. they were giving you ideas of what to see in Amman, which is the capital city. So it was like a walking, explore this for the day. These are like the highlights. And so I remember we were kind of following this just to so we would make sure we saw what we needed to see. And then all of a sudden we ended up in this like massive, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was some sort of parade. I wouldn't know. I don't know if parade's the right word to use in Jordan, but it was something where everyone was out. It was like erupting in a good way. And there was like music and people were selling things and something was going on. And my friend was like, okay, so now we're supposed to go here. And I'm like, can you not see that like in this moment, this is exactly where we're supposed to be.
Right.
And this is like, put the book away and take it in and enjoy it and let's see what happens. And that to me was like, whoa, like we do not see this the same way. And that's fine. People are different, but it is shocking, right? When people are still like, now we must do this, we must do this. And it's just like life is happening around us, like as we speak.
Right. Yeah, it's those magical moments are some of my favorite where it's like, oh, I did not expect to be here today, but this is one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had. This is so cool.
Yeah, and you have to be open to. I think that's the thing is like you have to be open to it, and not everybody is, and that's the way it goes. So whatever.
Yeah, and that's okay.
As long as they're not with me.
Yeah. I want to go explore and do some things and not feel like I'm in my to-do list. That's awesome. Okay, so Africa is a place you tried to get to, but then didn't, and it's still on your radar.
Yeah, but also like this might sound really boring, but I've never been to Scotland. I've never been to Ireland.
That's on my list too.
Yeah, and I really want to do that. So it doesn't always have to be like India and Africa. Like it doesn't have to always be that, right? Even in our own countries. I mean, I was just in Prince Edward Island, which is a very small province in Canada, like last month. And I was in love with it. It doesn't have to always be the exotic and the this and that. It can be something in your own backyard. But if that's what you need to see, then we need to see it,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think anytime you're outside of your normal routine, so to speak, right? Like things you know what to expect, the vibe, you know how it goes, the culture, all that. It's like, whatever. But I can go 2 states over and it can feel like a completely different world. It's like Minnesota is very different than Montana. You know what I mean? It's just like, well, I don't know. I've never been to Montana actually, so I shouldn't say that because I don't know. But I don't know why I pulled that. Maybe I'm supposed to go to Montana.
Maybe you are. But yeah, it's very true. Canada too. I mean, it's very different, like everywhere. So it's important to see where you're from as well. That's for sure.
Yeah. 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 I have friends in Scotland and I still haven't been there yet. It's on my radar. And just, I'll get there when I get there.
Yeah. But I love a good Scottish accent. So
yeah. Yep. It's good. So do you still have, because you have a community or had a community, do you still have that, like your travel community? Are you still actively?
That's a good question. I feel very lucky in that I feel that I do. My radio show was fairly well received and it was like about adventure travel. So the stories were really exciting and interesting and so I think that, created quite a collective. And I do feel like that has surfaced through my book. But it's an interesting question because you do, as I'm sure you have through your podcast, you do meet like so many interesting people. And then it's a domino effect, of who starts entering your life from that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool to create that and to have those connections. And there's people that I've only met maybe once, like you and I'm still like, we, follow each other. We comment on everything. They feel like friends in many ways. And one person I interviewed a while ago or years ago, we ended up meeting to get up together in Turkey and like doing a week-long hike together. I mean, we planned it, but we'd never met. So we went from an interview to like sharing a room together in some very strange house. And then hiking through Turkey for a week and we were together like 24/7. So yeah, you never know, right? Who's going to fall into your lap when you create these communities, as I'm sure you can relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've met some amazing people, so it's a
Yeah.
neat thing to do.
That's awesome. I love that. And so you have a full-time job. You work a full-time job
I do.
and
Did
you just finished. When did your book release?
my book came out in April,
Okay. So this
so
year.
yeah, so that's another reason why the old podcast had to go on the shelf. But yeah, I put it out in April, and then it's as much work selling it as it is writing it.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
but it's good, and even in that too, like I've met some really interesting people. It's just like the title, "The People You Meet," the title of my book. That's what all of this is about, right? I mean, it's always about these people that cross your path when you do something like this, when you have a podcast, when you write a book. You do it for your own selfish reasons in the beginning. Of course we do. But then it changes, and it's just like people start falling into your life due to you putting out that kind of energy. And it's quite interesting, it's interesting who your books or your podcast, who it resonates with and why and what they tell you. And you don't always realize that you're like impacting somebody's life. And it's quite fascinating that.
That really is fascinating. That's the
Mm.
part for me where it's like, oh, I didn't like, I'll have, somebody say something that I'm like, oh, I didn't even know you, like they'll come to an event or something that I'm doing in my studio, right? Because like my job I have a wellness studio and I do healing stuff just as a vague, and then they'll come in and they'll be like, oh, I love your I'm like, I love your podcast. And they'll bring up like a specific thing. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even, thanks for sharing that. I didn't even know. Like you forget that you don't know everybody who listens to your podcast, that it's like, it's bigger than that. It's not about you. It's bigger than you. And it is, it just is. It just is what it is. And people trickle into your life. I say trickle. It's not like I'm getting bombarded or anything, but people trickle into your life and you get to have these amazing conversations with people, sometimes on the mic. And some people are like, no, I never want to be on the mic, but I love this conversation we're having right now, and then you have other people like
Yeah.
you who are like, heck yeah, let's have a conversation
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
mic.
I love conversations. But yeah, I think also people don't realize, people who don't have a podcast don't realize it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So when you have those moments where people are like, thank you for doing this, that
Yeah.
keeps going, right? Because
Yeah.
sometimes, like for me, mine was well before AI. So I was like, because I just learned on another interview that AI is now doing a lot of editing for people. Whereas
Oh,
I know, but back in my day, I was editing constantly. Like the grind of it all was intense. And nobody really understands that until you do it. But yeah, when you have people saying, "Oh, I love this interview," and this was, I went on this trip because of this interview. It's like, thank you, because you need that, right? We all need
yeah.
a little bit of a like, okay, there's a reason I'm doing this.
Right. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Hmm.
Do you have, I don't know, this is a big question and maybe not fair because I'm going to ask you to fish through the files, but like, do you have some fun, quirky stories of just like that are your fondest memories of interesting people that you've met, good, bad, or indifferent, where, I don't know. I think that's some of the fun of travel and like, why not share it on the mic if it's appropriate and not like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm
I
not trying to
mean,
like, obscure privacy or anything like that, but I'm guessing there's some stories that are easily shared and
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, again, I think that's the reason that we do it, right? Yeah, I mean, if you read this book, which everybody should,
right, of course.
there's a lot of characters in there that are interesting. There's an Israeli woman that is in this book that I met in I forget where we were, northern Laos, maybe, who just like basically came out of nowhere. So we were in a very remote area, staying in these bungalows in a fishing village where there were very few tourists. And all of a sudden, this woman came stumbling out of her like bungalow that was beside ours. And she at the time was probably like in her 70s and had been traveling. She'd been on the road for a year through like India, through China, through Asia. And I mean, that's impressive, right? When you meet
Right.
a woman on her own in that of that age who has been doing that for that long. And yeah, so she was impressive, but she was crazy. Like, just like, did not know what she was going to say next. She would get really drunk. Then she would be like, say these like really like, wise things, and she'd be full of wisdom. And then the next minute you didn't even know like she was here nor that. Like just, yeah, people like that are fascinating. It's like, A, how are you functioning? Because you don't really seem like you have it all together. And B, like, well, yeah, all of it. Like, it's just, you meet some crazy people, and then I see, it seems like I'm always traveling with old people. That's not true. But I met this 85-year-old man from Australia who was like backpacking through Bolivia by himself. And I mean, you meet these random people all the time, but I've met tons of people that are like fascinating and interesting, and you just feel like you know them. You feel like you get them, you know them. They're just, yeah, they were supposed to be in your life. But yeah, like lots of people. I have some gross stories too. I had a woman I was cycling with who like threw up all over my stuff, my backpack, my bed, my everything after drinking too much. And she
Oh
was
my
not
gosh.
young. Like, there's a million stories, but yeah, I mean, you'd have to comb through my files.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I
Yeah.
think the other thing I love about meeting just many new people, I think like you realize people are people no matter where they are. Like we're not that
Uh-huh.
different.
No,
And
no.
I think there's something beautiful and glorious and comforting in that.
Well, I think that's also a really important reason that we do this, right? Like, I think we learn that about our fellow travelers, but you also learn that about, some of the poorest countries in the world are the happiest countries in
Yeah.
the world. And they're looking for the same things that we're looking for. They want to be safe. They want to be healthy. They want to love each other. They want clothes on their back. And sometimes you realize that the people with less, they're way happier than we are. They
Yeah.
know way more than we do about what it takes to be happy. I think that that's usually what I come home with, and you feel a little bit like, why do we live in such silos? We're so isolated, and they're all living together and helping each other and doing whatever they have to do, and here we are battling it out like constantly, too independent possibly. Yeah, I find all that stuff really, really interesting. And they do say, that's how people learn and get educated, is by traveling and seeing that we're all the same. And it like does reduce bias and prejudice and judgment and all of that. And again, like even with your fellow travelers in group travel, there's always someone there I don't like. You can't help that.
Right.
That's who we are. But at the same time, you're put together with the group of people that you probably would not pick to hang out with. And then you realize, yeah, we're all the same, right? We're all doing the same things. I
Yeah, we
was in
can learn something from
Colombia.
all of
Oh,
them.
totally. I spent over 3 weeks in Colombia in December, and I was with a pack of people, and mostly Germans and a few Aussies and Brits. Oh my God, I laughed so hard for like 3 weeks straight. And who knew, right? Like, you just don't know who's coming your way and why and what they're going to bring to your life. And fascinating. I love it.
Yeah, I love that. That's so fascinating and so true. And there is, I don't know, I'm thinking about like, when you're in a group of people, inevitably there's like people that are a little more for you, quote unquote, more comfortable for you. And then there's people that are maybe a little more uncomfortable for you. What
Yeah.
is it about travel that just makes it, well, maybe it doesn't make it okay, but I feel like travel makes it like somehow you just figure it out.
Yeah.
Whereas if like you're at home and you're, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example and not one's coming in, but if you're at home, it's just like less likely to like, I don't know. And we do silo ourselves. At least I do. I'm a human who like, I want to be in my house and I don't want every time I go outside to have a conversation with every single neighbor in the neighborhood. So I would rather just live on a street where I don't necessarily know everybody. And I'm good with that. But then if
Yeah.
I don't get myself out and connect with people, then I crave that human connection.
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
and then when I travel, I don't, I mean, I guess I still need my alone time, but I don't care if I'm siloed or, you know what I mean? I want to get to know the new people and be in I
I
don't know. I just
know.
find it fascinating how we changed
I
when we changed
know.
when we were out and about.
You know what? Sometimes I wonder if that's why I'm traveling because I'm like so excited to be like with this group of people and or meeting people, and then I think, is this why I'm here? Like, is it because I'm on my own too much at home? Like,
Yeah.
is this like the reason that I'm doing this? You know? And sometimes I have to wonder because I'm just like, oh my god, I love being with these people and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm not like this in my regular life.
Right.
So is this like filling a void like for me in my regular life? Who knows? I don't know. But I do wonder that sometimes when I'm just like, oh, I love being with all these people. And especially if you're doing like a hiking trip or a cycling trip. But hiking trips, like you're often living in dorms with them, like you're together all the time, sleeping like on bunk beds and blah blah blah. So I don't know. I'm just like, what is happening? Why am I seeking this out? Whereas at home I'm like you a bit and I'm like, oh, I'll go out when I hear the neighbor is like, they're already inside and I don't have to see them on the
Right.
driveway.
I know it makes me sound like I'm kind of a jerk, and it's not that. It's just like, I don't know. I've lived in certain places where it's like suddenly you get to be friends with the whole neighborhood, and then you can't go outside without a 2 hour conversation. It's like, well, I don't have time for a 2 hour conversation right now. That's
Yeah.
boundaries. I can walk away. I get it, but it's just, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. It's like when I'm traveling, it's like, yeah, I want to have conversations. I want to hang out with people. I want to go to that coffee shop and that,
Yeah.
street and stroll and all these different things. And then it's like at home, I don't want to do that.
I know.
What
Same.
is that? That's interesting. I've never really thought about that until this conversation. So I'm a little bit fascinated by like, huh, that's an interesting note.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. I do more and more. I'm like, wow, like I'm really like, I love being around all these people. And I do wonder what that's all about.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love it. I
Yeah.
think it's so good.
Yeah.
Um, so in your book,
Hmm.
do you have, well, I don't know, I guess I'm trying to think, like, is there a certain, I mean, obviously people who love to travel would
Hmm.
be drawn to your book. Is there another, I don't want to say niche because it's such a, but is there another like human that would be an amazing person who, like, travel aside, like they would be really drawn to this book if?
To be honest, I mean, if you're a traveler, yes, you'll get a kick out of it, especially if you've been to that part of the world, because I write very much like I'm there in the moment, and people who have lived in Thailand or have been there say, oh my goodness, we're right back. I can smell it, I can feel it, I can taste it. So there is that. But it's interesting because a lot of people who are not adventurous and not travelers have read this book and they love it because
Oh,
it's
cool.
like taking them on this adventure that they'll probably never have. A lot of people don't even understand that part of the world, which was a shock to me. But so many people were like, I had to get out my maps to like even see where these countries were. So that was interesting, and that's fine. So yeah, I think it's a really good book for everybody. Like if you have no interest in getting on a plane, well, you're lucky because I did it for you, and there's a lot of things in there that no one will ever want to have done, and I did it. So you're welcome. Um, but yeah, I think it's just a really good adventure. It's a good armchair, travel story. Whether you're that person or not, like an adventurous person or not, it's entertaining and it's funny, and there's a little bit of a love story in there, and it's just really, I was 35 at the time that I was putting it together and writing these emails, and while I published it like 15 years later, and there's a reason for that, but I tried to be very true to who that person was at 35. And that's interesting too. Like a lot of women who are 35 now say, oh my goodness, I totally, like you just totally described how I'm feeling about my life right now and where I'm
Oh,
at.
wow.
And yeah, so I think there's stuff in there certainly for everybody, certainly for women. I think like a lot of men have enjoyed it, but I think it resonates certainly with women.
That's amazing. I love your comment about like, even if you're a person who doesn't necessarily like or want to travel, you can live vicariously and have a whimsical adventure in your mind, as opposed to having to go have a, well, maybe not whimsical. Maybe that was a bad word with what you're describing. Maybe that doesn't actually describe it, but just like a fun, funny, you know, adventurous,
Yeah.
experience all
Yeah.
through the pages of your book because you did it, you lived it, and then
Yeah.
you told about it.
Totally.
wrote about it. Yeah,
And
that's cool.
maybe it inspires someone to do whatever they need to do in terms of an adventure. And it certainly doesn't have to look like what I did. And I certainly don't recommend doing all the things that I did. I don't know if I would have done it again had I known. But maybe, yeah, it like gives somebody a little bit of a spark to like tackle something that's on their list, whatever that is. Could be anything.
I love that. Do you have a this? I don't know why I just dropped in. Shifting gears, but do you have like a really practical travel tip that maybe people who don't travel a lot don't don't know or realize?
This book actually, it's funny you say that because at the end of every chapter, there are travel tips in
Oh,
it,
cool.
and most of them are ridiculous and funny, but there's a few that are useful. Like the usual stuff, like 90% of people are good, 10% not so good. Things like that. Don't squeeze the mangoes in the night market. You'll get tips like that. Um, I think for me though, like, it's eat where the locals are eating, that kind of stuff. One thing that I did a lot and with this person in the book with me is like we used to jump in the back of a car with anybody. I don't know that I would do that anymore. So there's
Yeah.
a tip. Like that's the thing about travel too, is that your level of safety is not the same when you go away that it is at home. I would never jump into a stranger's car in Canada. Like, if it's an Uber is one thing, but hitchhiking and all that kind of stuff, I would never do that. And you just trust everybody, right? When
Yeah.
you're away and it's going to be fine and whatever. So I think as I get older, I would do that less often. Certainly as a woman, there's always the usual tips, like try not to pull into like bus stations in the dark at night. I just did that 2 years ago in Mexico in a town, and it's never fun, right? Like not having your bearings, not knowing where you are, and you're by yourself, and you're kind of vulnerable. Um, so I have many tips, but yeah, I can't think of too many more at the moment. But if you read my book, you'll get a whack of them, and like some of them are ridiculous, and some of them you'll find useful.
I love that. So do you have a way, I want to make sure, I mean, I can put a link in the show notes as well if it's like a big long link, but do you have a way for an easy way for people to reach out or contact you, or if you start up your community or your radio show again, like if you want to
Yeah,
connect? I mean, it sounds like you like to connect.
I do. I love it. The best way to find me is on Instagram.
Oh,
So
cool.
that is fly_travel_media. So that's the best. Like you'll see everything. I don't hold back on there. The book you can find on Amazon. There's a few books with the same title. So just look for my name, The People You Meet, Melissa Rodway. And then I have a website, but I have to be honest, I'm not very good at updating it, but that's flyrodway.com.
Awesome.
So yeah, those are the best places to reach me. And I love interacting with people. I like talking about travel. It's very fun and it's easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Exactly.
like, it makes you feel better. It's a nice conversation to have.
It's true. So on your Instagram, is it you and your travels, or do you even talk like when you're not traveling, do you kind of pull stories forward or even just talk about your day to day? I mean, what does that look like? I did follow you just recently, but I haven't dug in yet.
Oh, okay. It's mostly about adventures and travel, but not always. Sometimes it's like a reflection about where I'm at or what's going on or whatever. But I would say 90% of it is like travel and adventure related. And there's a lot of honest stuff in there too. Like there is a post, I was in South America in 2023 where I was totally burnt out, had travel fatigue, and was like contemplating ending a trip, and I didn't, but I talked about that and just like how nobody wants to talk about it, but it's real and it's hard. And yeah, so I don't really, I'm not afraid to like be very transparent about where I'm at and what's happening for me. So yeah, you'll see all those kinds of things there, but I try to keep it fun where I can.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
if we're wrapping up, I'm thinking about, for some reason, I'm thinking about the traveler or the person who is a little less comfortable with the idea or the concept of just the word adventure itself. You know, some people hear adventure and they think risk.
Mhm.
And so I'm just curious if you have like I don't know if it's feedback or advice or even just like maybe something that could potentially inspire. And I'm not trying to change people. That's not what I'm saying at all. But just to bring some comfort into like if travel intrigues you, but you have a little bit of that angst or apprehension, do you have like a something? Well, I don't know if it's a words of wisdom or words of comfort or like just a simple intention that might be helpful.
I just think that there's like so many ways to travel now, and do not ever compare yourself to anyone else that's out there doing it. I think there is a lot of like judgment in travel sometimes. You know, you've probably seen it too, where people compete or they brag about how many stamps are in their
Yeah.
passport or how many months they've been on the road. I can't stand any of that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessary. And then there's a lot of, you know, if you're not backpacking by yourself, there can be, you know, people can, you know, judge you in certain ways. And I really don't like that. I think if you're even just out there, good for you, and do it how you do it. If
Absolutely.
that's a group trip, if that's with your husband, if that's like whatever that means to you, if it's just staying in a city, all of that is fine as well. Like you're out there and you're doing it. Do what makes you feel happy and what you want to do, and do not let anyone like take that away from you. That really bothers me. I've
Yeah.
been on the receiving end of that myself. I also think there's so many things that make it easy now. Like I was in Mexico on my own, and there's so many things. Like I think there's still sometimes a fear for solo travelers or for women, but it's so ridiculous because you can fill your day up with like a walking tour, with a cooking class, with a,
Yeah.
and you're meeting people all day long. That wasn't like that before, so it's
Right.
pretty easy. Even one night, I mean, I didn't really want to go out on my own at night in a certain area, and I found this tour where this guy picked me up, and he was a lovely guy, local guy, and he took me with a couple other people that I just met that night around this town, and we were doing like beer and taco tastings in like local areas where like travelers weren't going. And then he dropped me off at my apartment to make sure that I got home safe at night. Like the world has changed so much. It's so easy now to
Yeah.
travel, right? And to have experiences that you may not have been able to have back in the day on your own. It was a little bit more scary, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think figure out what you like, what you want to see and do, and like there's a million options now to do it safely. So
And I love what you said about this isn't about you comparing yourself to someone else's adventure. It's about you finding your own. And adventure, use whatever word you want. You can replace it with calm, peace,
yeah,
excitement, inspiration, whatever, anything. But if it's calling to you, find a way to make it yours and go do it. However that
totally,
looks for you. That's beautiful. I
totally.
love that.
Yeah, and one other thing that someone said to me once, because sometimes I think you can, as we were talking about earlier, this like to-do list of when even you go to a city, and someone said to me, "Isn't it enough that we're just here, like taking it in, walking
Yeah.
around? Like, do we have to see everything on this list of what you're supposed to see in this city? We're here, like that's cool." So yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Anywho, it was great meeting you, Michelle.
It
Thank
was
you
so
so much.
lovely. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really enjoyed our conversation. I will put the link to your book in the comments and anything else you want me to share, your Instagram or whatever. But I think it'll be fun and I'm looking forward to see how we connect again in the future.
That would be great. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.